TellyCast, the TV industry news review.
Hi, I'm Justin Crosby, and welcome to TellyCast. This week's show comes from Edinburgh TV Festival, where the UK content industry is gathered in the Scottish capital over 3 days to address the burning issues facing the business today. My guests on the show are Fatima Salaria, Executive Chair of the Edinburgh TV Festival and the TV Foundation, Rick Murray, Managing Director of Manchester indie Workerbee, and Jackie Adedeji, columnist, presenter and podcast host. It's coming right up on this week's TellyCast. So here we are at the Edinburgh International Conference Centre, and I'm here with Fatima Salaria, former head of specialist factual at Channel 4 and now managing director of the indie producer Naked Television. But obviously, and more importantly, when it comes to today, the executive chair of Edinburgh TV Festival, where we are right now. Fatima, good morning. How are you?
Morning. Very well. Slightly nervous, but excited to be at the beginning of the first day of the festival, coming back in person. Jam-packed couple of days. So really kind of looking forward to seeing people again, but just absorbing that kind of industry talk, which I absolutely love and have missed massively.
All our listeners, I'm sure, feel the same way. Certainly the delegates that are here, but I know everyone that listens to TellyCast is passionate about television, and that's really what the Edinburgh TV Festival is about. We spoke to Stuart and previewed the event last week, so we went through a lot of the detail of what's on the agenda. But talking about your role as executive chair, is this your first live event as executive chair, and how long have you been in this position?
So I've been in post for 2 years now. So this is my first in live as the executive chair. Very different from coming up here as a buyer or a seller, as a commissioner or a producer. I think I see my overall role just in terms of a kind of friendly face at the end of a phone call that is passionate about telly, that can kind of help navigate conversations with Stuart and Campbell about what should make up the festival.
Yeah, and that's Campbell Glennie.
That's Campbell Glennie.
He's the managing director of the,
that's right.
of the event, and
Yes.
Stuart's obviously creative.
Yes. So basically, I am a sounding board for them. That's the best way to describe it, I think. We kind of would sit down together with the advisory board, which we choose every year once we've got the advisory chair, and we work out what are the talking points in the industry at the moment, what are the issues, what are the ideas that we want to bring to Edinburgh to talk about. I think what is really distinctive about Edinburgh is that this is the one place where you can hold our industry to account. It's the one place where you can talk about issues that have happened in the last couple of years and how we can come up with solutions and be optimistic about what's going on. And I think Edinburgh is the only place that you can have those really high level conversations in a safe space with other journalists and with other programme makers coming together. And I think it's a really unique way. I would be heartbroken if we didn't have this ability, because I think the thing about the industry at the moment is that we are going through so much change. We've come out of COVID. You know, the industry has changed in the last 2 years, just from cultural stuff of working from home and, you know, how you bring people back into the office. But also, if you look at the shortages in terms of getting people to come and work on shows and production management, all of that kind of stuff, this is the place where we should be having those really big discussions and arguments.
And as we've spoken about many times, you know, being in person is the real opportunity to share those ideas and debate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about COVID, you know, COVID surfaced so many issues that perhaps hadn't been at the forefront of the industry. You know, pre-COVID, everybody's trying to make as, you know, successful shows as possible and successful channels and doing whatever they can within the industry on a commercial level. But perhaps COVID made us sit back a little bit and consider a lot of these different issues that maybe we weren't prioritising as much. And now this is the first time that the industry's come together to discuss those.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. As an example, I think the role of women in our industry and the career progression of women in the industry after COVID has stalled and has got more difficult. We have been working from home. Other people have done the same. But in terms of women, we were working from home. And I take my own example, working from home, managing a family, managing running a house, managing looking after people who were vulnerable, making sure my neighbours were okay. And I'm in an incredibly fortunate position in terms of my career that I'm quite happy with where I am. I think other people who were isolated, particularly the young, is something that I think it's those kind of issues that I think we've got to be really honest about. We've got to be really honest about our culture and the whole, people working to deadlines, unacceptable behaviour, within the workforce. So I think that there are so many issues like that we've still got to talk about amongst ourselves. The biggest thing for me is panel that I'm doing later on is about the role of the public service broadcasters and the streamers and looking at where we are in terms of our industry and how we can protect that. And I think that this is the place that you can do that. But this is also the place that you can listen to Brian Cox talking about his career. You can listen to Dolly Anderton talking to people. You also have that brilliant side of telly, which is to entertain and inform people. And having that kind of mixture together is just really great.
Yeah, it certainly reminded me of the value of the event, because it is so different to others, because it's not a market. Everybody's coming and talking about issues as opposed to it being a commercially driven pitch fest. And there's obviously a little bit of that going on as well, but it's the issues that people are here to debate. In your role as executive chair then for the festival, what's the most challenging aspect of your role?
I think giving that overview on McTaggart and who we should have for McTaggart is exciting, daunting. It is such a big moment of the festival, and it is where we almost lay down the gauntlet to the industry and say, okay, what are we going to do about this? Or how can we change? I think when I look back at David's and I look back at Jack's and Dorothy's, I kind of think they threw the gauntlet down in terms of we can do better. We must do better. And I think for me, following on from having such amazing lectures by those and finding the next person to do that is a huge challenge. And I think within Emily Maitlis, we've absolutely cracked that. I think for me, as well, the challenge is making a festival that I would want to come to, that I feel that I belong to, that I see stories or I see ideas that I really want to talk about. And I think making sure we've got a mixture and a blend of that is really important. And obviously the hardest thing for me is not taking over and not wanting to be the advisory chair, because I'm so enthusiastic about everything. But, I think that's great in a way, because I'm incredibly passionate about this industry that we work in, and I just want it to get better. It is such a privilege, Justin, for me to have this role. Such a privilege. I never forget that. And it is an honour to do this. And I want to make sure that I'm getting other people ready to kind of step in and to kind of feel that Edinburgh is about them as well and that they belong here.
When did you first come to the festival yourself? How long ago was that?
I think I've only been to the festival 4 times.
Right.
And I came in the first year when I was on the assistant commissioner scheme,
right.
When I got into commissioning. And then I came once with the BBC as a religion editor, and I think a couple of times with Channel 4. So I'm relatively new to this place. Right. I still find it incredibly intimidating. I get nervous when I'm walking around and feel quite scared about it. But it was always something I looked from afar and I wanted to be there. But somehow I felt I didn't belong there, or I couldn't be there. And that's one of the things that Campbell and me talk about a lot in terms of breaking that barrier down so that younger people can come here. People who are just starting their career can get a sense of this place. So to me, I still feel that I'm a newcomer.
you're also responsible for the TV Foundation, aren't you, in your
Yes.
role as executive director? Can you briefly tell us what the TV Foundation is and what its aims are and what it delivers?
So TV Foundation is made up of Ones to Watch, TV PhD, and that is a place where we can encourage the next generation of filmmakers, the next generation of production staff, people who want to come and work in telly, and give them almost curated sessions with our industry leaders so that they're getting to hear about those stories, they're getting to ask questions, we're mentoring them throughout the year. So it's a place, it's almost like university with these 3 schemes that we've got. It's basically there to enable us to give something back and to enable others within the industry to give something back and to help that next generation of people. You know, the Ones to Watch are fantastic. The alumni of people who have come out of that is great. But I will stress, I was never on those schemes. So I get lots of emails from people saying, Fatima, I've not been selected for Ones to Watch. Is that it? Is my career over? And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be on these to kind of make your presence known. I applied for every BBC apprentice job going when I wanted to join the BBC. I never even got aboard. Yet I spent 20 years working at the BBC because I went round the side and I got in. And it's the same. I think that if you're not on these, it doesn't matter. You can still achieve the same by just reaching out to people. But I think here, what we want to do, because we are a charity, we want to create that next level of experience for people.
I'm going to put you on the spot. So there are 60 sessions or so over the next 3 days. Which one are you particularly looking forward to? Which one personally is your favourite?
Honestly, I can't do one. I have to do 2. Forgive
Okay.
me. The footballers one, how footballers have changed the world in terms of documentary filmmaking.
Yeah.
I'm a massive sports documentary fan. And I heard there was a session at Sheffield which talked about some of the documentaries that they'd made. So I'm really interested in that. I'm really interested in When Vogue Met Elle, because to me that just jumps out as something which is new, which is different and really refreshing. And so those are the 2 that I desperately want to make sure that I go to. They're about stories and they're about people. And that's what Edinburgh should always be about. Stories and people and how we can learn from each other.
Fatima Salaria, thank you so much. Have a wonderful festival. Best of luck with everything and hope to have you on the show again soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Justin.
Okay, the panel sessions are underway, and as you can hear in the background, there's the hubbub of a busy festival, which is great to see so many people here. And I'm here with Rick Murray, MD of Workerbee, the production company based in Manchester. How you doing, Rick?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. It's nice to be back in Edinburgh.
It is, isn't
actually
it?
Seeing people in real life.
Yeah, it's packed, actually. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be quite as rammed as it is. It probably speaks to the health of the TV industry and the TV boom right now, I suppose.
And I think everyone's just keen to get back together again and sort of have those face-to-face meetings. I think
Absolutely.
being an indie in Manchester, we've always found Edinburgh, like the sessions are great, but one of the main things that we've found useful is that all the commissioners are here within a few hundred metres of each other, and we can get loads of business done in 3 days. More business done in 3 days than we could in 6 weeks of travelling down to London on the train to do
that's
individual
interesting.
meetings.
That's interesting, because I always thought, do you do pitches? I mean, do you...
Yes,
you're,
lots.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, because I always thought this is not a place to pitch shows, but maybe
I would
it
call
is.
them soft pitches. I wouldn't do the kind of following a commissioner into the toilets to pitch or like nabbing them straight after a session when they're being mobbed. But before the actual week, we will get in touch and booking lunches, booking dinners, and over those lunches and dinners, it's a really nice time to sort of go, well, this is what's on our slate at the moment, and kick off conversations because everyone's back to school.
And get that wine flowing.
And get the wine flowing, find out what they really, really want, not just this kind of, posh version of what they want.
Yeah.
We find it a really big week for kicking off our business for the next year. Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, listen, tell us a little bit about Workerbee, because I've been aware of your business as a, inverted commas, nations and regions business. So tell us a little bit about the history of Workerbee, where the company started and where it is now.
So it was founded kind of really in 2013. So we opened up an office in Media City in Manchester. It was me and a guy called Alex Connock, who used to run 10 Outs with Bob Geldof, the production company. It's now Zinc Media. So we sort of founded this new entity, and actually at the time we were part of Shine TV, and it was a kind of northern office for Shine TV. That was the concept. It was before it was cool and lucrative to have an office in the north, and both Alex and I had this opportunity. It was quite a rare opportunity at the time to build a business. What we found is that kind of fast forward nearly 10 years, Alex left the business after 3 or 4 years to sort of pursue. He did a PhD, and he actually now teaches television at Oxford University. So he's pursued a career in academia, and I took over the reins in about 2017, at which point we branded the business Workerbee, because we were called Shine North before that, or Endemol Shine North, when we got merged with Endemol. And we just thought, let's drop the North. Actually, part of the sort of key, I think, to being a nations and regions indie is trying not to talk about being in the nations and regions too much, because London companies don't go, I'm a London company. They're just an indie, and they're just trying to make great content, great pitches, and they're in competition with everyone else. I just want to be in competition with everyone else to bring in the best ideas. I don't really want the North tag at the end of our brand, but obviously we wanted something that had Manchester DNA in it, and the Workerbee is the symbol of Manchester. We work incredibly hard on our production, so that kind of worked as a brand. Also, we work a lot with the US networks, and they didn't give a crap that we were in Manchester. They don't have the same issues that we do in terms of where things are produced, what city they're produced in. They don't understand it. They don't care about it. So they used to ask, why does it say North on the end of what's that about? And I'd spend ages explaining to Netflix or Amazon in LA why we're in Manchester and why that kind of mattered to our odd little industry. Yeah. And they would just sort of shake their heads and not really understand what was going on about. So that was the rebrand. And since then, we've just pursued a strategy of premium factual, so feature docs and films, basically, like Bruno versus Tyson for Sky Docs, and we did the Janet Jackson documentary series for Sky Docs as well. It was on A&E and Hulu in the US. So that's the kind of feature doc side. We call it the Workerbee Films. And then we have Fact 10. So we do The Bridge for Channel 4 and HBO Max. There's just been the second season of that out a couple of months ago. Idris Elba's Fight School, which we did for iPlayer and BBC Two. So quite, also premium feeling Fact 10. And so formats and films are the two things that we make.
Okay. And The Bridge is a Spanish format originally,
That's
isn't
right.
it? I think that came from another Banijay
That's right.
business.
Part of the wonder of being part of this federation of many, many, many companies all around the world. During lockdown, someone sent me a tape of the Spanish version of this show. It had done 2 series in Spain and then not been recommissioned. It had done 1 series in France and not been recommissioned, and it was sort of sat on the shelf dormant. And I was chatting to Phil Harris at Channel 4, who had this slot that had become available, which was happening all the time over lockdown, that something would get shifted back and suddenly there'd be a need for a Fact 10 show at 9 p.m. on a Sunday because SAS had been delayed or something like that. And it was June or the end of May. And said, I've got this slot in now in October that's just opened up 9 p.m. Sunday. Anything you can make now in the midst of lockdown? And I said, I think we can make The Bridge. I think we can make this format. And we very quickly got into production. He loved it, loved the tape, got into production super quick, commissioned it off the Spanish trailer, and we made it in North Wales in the middle of lockdown. We had 3 weeks to cast it, managed to turn it around and get it on air for October. And it was good, it was rushed, but hopefully that didn't come across in the final product. But it was a huge undertaking to do it at speed like that. And then it obviously did well enough and it did great. We brought in HBO Max as a co-producing partner and did really well in the States. So HBO Max pulled the trigger for a second season, and then Channel 4 joined in for a second season. And this time we had much longer to do it, much more time to cast it, and we went and shot it in Vietnam, which
bigger
was
budget.
Epic.
Well,
Bigger
obviously, yeah. You
bigger
just
budget.
said
we went from one team building a bridge to win the prize to 2 teams competing to reach the island first for a 200 grand prize, which is like a huge cash prize, and it was in Vietnam, which was absolutely epic. So it was fun to get the opportunity to come back and do it with more money in a better location, and we were really pleased that we killed ourselves to make that first season in lockdown.
Well, that's it. Well, congratulations on that. I was going to ask you about Workerbee as a business and There are lots of other indies operating in your space.
Yeah.
You talk about, premium factual and that space. How do you distinguish yourself as a business to your competition then?
I think it comes down a lot to the talent that we work with. So we've nurtured over the years a really healthy relationship with Idris Elba, who we've made several unscripted projects with. That's kind of led us to sort of get in bed with other A-list talent who felt like really comfortable working with us, such as Janet and the Jackson family, and obviously we're now sort of moving into sports docs as well. We've got more that we're going to announce that feature really big talent coming soon that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. But I think the talent sort of brands our sort of content in a way, and I've always found the people that we work with to be quite edgy. I think it also fits with the title Workerbee, because a lot of our shows seem to be about people who are putting in hard work and graft to sort of achieve great things. Even The Bridge is about that, Fight School, where it's some sort of underprivileged kids learning to box, is about that. The Janet Jackson series was about that. It was about her overcoming odds to sort of gain success. So we do sort of, it's funny, you just sort of tend to have this kind of makeup of what a Workerbee show is, and certainly we feel it. And hopefully, the more you talk to commissioners, the more they kind of get what your specific DNA is and also what your talents are at delivering shows. But I think certainly dealing with big names is one of the things that we brought to the party, which, by the way, is I hope is really bucking the trend for how people see nations and regions indies. Because there was this, certainly when we founded the company 9 years ago, there was this kind of idea that a nations and regions indie made daytime shows and featured shows.
And they don't have access to the big talent.
And actually when we started working with Idris, someone even said to me, hold on, how does that work then? He's from London and you're in Manchester. And I was like, well, hold on. Do you think that London indies are questioned when they work with talent from the north? Do you think someone sits them down and says, why are you working with people outside the M25? Like, there are no rules and boundaries here to what shows we create and we develop, or the talent that we work with. We're all in the same game, we're all in competition with each other. And I think that is really, if we want to build decent and successful indies in the north, we just need to cast off all those shackles of feeling like we should be a regional indie. The amount I get asked a lot by commissioners to bring, you're Manchester, are you? Could you bring me some northern access? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I could bring, if I think it's good, but also let's talk about your 9 p.m. prime time needs as well, rather than just northern access, because we want to grow not just a successful Manchester-based indie. We just want to be in the top indies in the country. That's our aim. Got nothing to do with where we're based.
Yeah. So here we are at Edinburgh, and there's lots of discussion going on, as we can hear in the background, and all these panel sessions going on. Any sessions that are standing out to you in terms of that you're going to prioritise? I'm imagining most of the spotlight sessions.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely the spotlight sessions are the most useful, and obviously the commissioners will hold back exciting and tantalising announcements for those sessions. We had breakfast this morning with the guys at Disney Plus, and they were saying, you've got to come to our session on Friday, because for the first time we're actually going to announce, they've only announced the Beckham doc so far, but they're going to announce their first raft of commissions for Disney Plus. So that's going to be the first time that we get to sort of see and hear as producers what they're commissioning, because we don't know. They haven't announced it yet. We've heard their brief. It's a very big brief, bring us really big stuff, but until you actually hear what they've commissioned, it's quite difficult as a producer to really hone in on the sort of ingredients that they're looking for.
Yeah, okay.
And it sounds like everything they're going to announce is big talent, big budget, something that you would not be able to do with a terrestrial kind of, budget. So I'm excited for that. And obviously I've just been in the Amazon session where, again, they announced and showed trailers for a raft of new commissions. And it really helps you hone in your development on what they want.
Right. I mean, looking at the wider industry and the issues facing the UK TV industry right now, what do you think is the single biggest issue that the business faces? Because we've got lots of things about public service broadcasting, we've got all the media consolidation, we've got all sorts of stuff going on in streaming. And in your opinion, what is the biggest issue facing the industry right now?
I mean, for me, and all these three things are sort of linked, but diversity, and by that I mean, all types of diversity, socio-economic diversity and cultural diversity in the industry is still a huge challenge. We haven't cracked it. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's setting up funds to try and sort it. Everyone's got a different idea about how we can sort it. And then also we've talked a bit about nations and regions and the levelling up thing. I know for a fact that many things are made in Manchester, in other nations, and they are not yet truly regional productions. They're not yet truly made by people who are homegrown and living and working in those cities. And I think we've still got to go some way. I'm sure there are lots of spreadsheets at channels that says, well, we've spent that much in Wales and we've spent that much in Scotland.
And that ticks a box. But actually,
are you is it really? What I can say is that on the bridge, everybody from the series producer down was based in Manchester, working for Workerbee. So I'm really proud of the fact that we are making these big kind of juggernaut formats up in Manchester, and we're not lifting and shifting stuff there. But I think that's still happening. So that's something that there needs to be like honest conversations about, and it links into the diversity thing, because this all involves channels taking the plunge on people that maybe haven't done certain jobs in the industry before, getting them the leg up to those senior producer and executive roles, so that we can see different types of class, different types of race running these productions, and we haven't quite got there yet, and I think we will, because we're doing lots of great stuff, certainly in our company alone, with people from the Northwest coming to work in TV who never would have worked in TV before, that are coming up through our company. And I'm seeing this younger generation that in 5 years is going to change the face of the industry. It's going to look totally different to how it did 10 years ago. But in the short term, we've still got problems to solve, because we're trying to get more representation on crews, and there aren't enough people of different or underserved demographics that have got enough skills and experience yet to make the shows that we want them to. So
one of the things that COVID, as a result of COVID and as a result of the acceleration out of COVID, has been shortage of staff as well. Is that something that you're experiencing? I mean, when you're making, for example, The Bridge, the second season of that, was it a struggle to pull the right people together for that?
So we've always had this problem from day one, because we're in Manchester, so there's always been a shortage of staff. There's never been enough people up there, editors, technical staff, producers, to make our shows. So we've had to grow and train our own cohort of people at Workerbee, and as a result, we have nearly 40 full-time staff, and they range from editors to casting producers and we've just kept hold of everyone and sort of built a fortress, because we've had to do that to create stuff up there. That made us it was very, very scary during lockdown, because we had a lot of staff and a lot of mouths to feed, and that was hard. And we didn't lose a single person in lockdown. We didn't lay off a single person. But that made us quite well prepared now for this staff shortage, because we've built up quite a big staff base in Manchester. So the Bridge had lots and lots of our staff members on it, supplemented by a few freelancers. But I would say it was probably 65% of it was all of our best Workerbee staff made that show. That's another reason why we're so proud of it,
Yeah, of course, I understand that. But listen, Rick, thank you for having a chat. Really appreciate your time. Really interesting to hear about Workerbee, and enjoy the festival. And I'm sure I'll see you around and about, maybe at the opening night drinks this evening.
Indeed, thank you. Good to see you.
So my next guest on this week's show is Jackie Adedeji, Metro columnist, presenter and podcast host. How are you doing, Jackie?
I'm good, Justin. How are you?
I'm all right. We were just saying it's buzzy, right?
Yes.
There's a buzz going on.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be back in the EICC. It's like nothing's changed. Good energy, good vibes. All the sessions are going great. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody echoes that.
Yes.
So you're going to be involved in a session this afternoon around podcasting. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But for our listeners that perhaps internationally or not, who don't recognise you, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and a little bit about the panel that you're on this afternoon?
Sure. So I am a podcaster. So I have a podcast called Boob Share, which is produced by Global and is with Copperfield, the breast cancer awareness charity, where we talk to celebrities about their relationship with their boobs, knockers, melons, Antodex, Michael Bublé's, whatever you want to call them. We're here to talk about it. And that's really to get the audience connected with their body, because if they're more connected with their body, they're more likely to check their chest for breast cancer. I also am a columnist for the Metro, so I write on different things like dating, gender, body image, race, things like that. I also was the host of Edinburgh TV Festival's podcast called Say It Loud, where I worked and hosted the podcast, working with producers, up-and-coming black creatives in the industry, as well, to give them a platform so that people can, know who they are, and they can also get in touch with the festival and be part of the community. So yeah, that's a bit of me. And then I do some TV presenting. I've done Channel 5 Showbiz News, and I've done some bits and bobs for Channel 4. Said News Body SOS comes out in a couple of weeks, and I have done another documentary with Channel 4 called Boobs, which will come as no surprise to you.
Right. Okay. Well, there's a lot there to go through.
I know.
So you've been involved in Edinburgh for a little while, haven't
Yes.
you? You were involved last year.
Yes.
And you had a pretty impressive interview. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes. So honestly, I still pinch myself today, but I was asked by the lovely Stuart Clark, the creative director of the festival, to interview Whoopi Goldberg for the International Icon Award, which was an incredible experience. I would have loved to have Whoopi in real life, but at that time, the festival was still virtual. And it was amazing to talk to her about her 40-year career in Hollywood, the highs and the lows, and, get a different side to Whoopi. And I really feel like we did that with that interview. So it was just a dream come true, really.
You've really been part of the fabric of the festival for the last couple of years, which is great to see.
Yes.
So your panel later on today, which is all about development, financing, production and distribution of podcasts. And as we know, there's quite a movement now for production companies to develop their own IP and develop them into TV series via the podcast space. My experience of podcasting has been so much time I put into researching and getting the right guests and accessing some amazing people. But actually, that's only half of the challenge, isn't it? It's about the promotion and distribution of podcasts that helps them become successful. In terms of working in podcasts into TV, give us a bit of an idea of your experience of that and how you've worked within this space.
Sure. So I think with podcasting, it is a cheat code to getting into the TV industry, whether that's in front of the camera or creating a TV series like My Dad Wrote a Porno, which turned into a TV series. You also have Chris and Rosie Ramsey, Shagged, Married, Annoyed, which became a BBC show. So I think the thing about podcasting is that you no longer have to rely on, pitching an idea to a TV production company, and then it goes through various people, and then it takes quite a long time before it eventually gets commissioned. That's if it does. You can create it from your bedroom. You can buy a mic from Amazon. You can download the software. You can go on YouTube to learn how to edit. Bish bash bob, Bob's your uncle. You can do it yourself. I think the amazing thing about podcasting is that it is unfiltered in a way that I think TV is not. It goes through various checks in terms of editing, and then there's editing, and then there's the CEO of the company that wants to watch and it's all about taste, I guess, in that respect. Whereas I think with podcasting, you have a lot more control over it. It's your taste. And if people like it, great, you'll get a solid following. And if people don't, then they'll turn off. But I think podcasting really is a great way to build an audience. And it's also a really good way to connect with people in a different way, where in TV, you're essentially watching stuff on your TV or maybe on your phone. When it comes to podcasting, you have people's voices on podcasts that will be with you on your commute to work or when you're doing the laundry. There's the ability to really build a deep connection with you as a listener. And I think that it's really unique. I mean, the podcast industry has boomed, particularly since the pandemic. A lot of celebrities started podcasts. A lot of people turned to start podcasting. So I think it's an incredible industry. And for me personally, it has changed my life, podcasting. I think for a lot of people who want to get on screen, you may have ideas and you'll pitch them and, on paper, but as an audio, doing something via audio means that you say to someone, look, this is what I've done, have a listen. If they like it, great, they'll have a meeting with you. If they don't, then there you go. At least it's there.
It's almost like a live development, isn't it?
100%.
And it's like, rather than having a great idea on a piece of paper
Yes.
or on a PowerPoint and taking it to a commissioner,
Yes.
you can create the emotion and exactly the type of show that you want and that you're trying to convey through a document, I suppose, through an audio show. And obviously, as you say, once an audience follows you and you build up an audience, then it's proof of concept, essentially,
100%.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to reach people. And I stumble across new podcasts every day, people I've never heard of and topics that I never thought I'd be interested in. That's the thing about podcasting, is you're constantly learning, you're constantly discovering in a way that it feels really easy. Whereas I think when it comes to me and like discovering new TV shows, I kind of find sort of the anxiety of going on Netflix and trying to pick what to watch kind of exhausting. Whereas on podcasts, it's so easy, it's just a click, So, and it's just, I love podcasting. I think it's wonderful, and everyone should do it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Not that many people. I don't want too much
Oh,
competition.
this is true. Actually, no, stay in your lane.
So Jackie, you're also working on a development of a project as well, from a podcast into TV show. And I know you can't tell us too much about that, but you actually have got a signed development deal for an idea, haven't you?
Yeah. So what's really exciting about this is that they have been able to witness my passion on, on different topics, particularly around body image, and in a way that I think that if I was just saying it in person, it maybe wouldn't land as much. But I think when people can see you've already created something, you have a catalogue of work. The great thing about podcasts is, you can see, the rate, reviews, the subscribes. So people who are potentially looking, for you to work with them in TV, they can see that there's interest. They can see that there's engagement, there's stats, there's all this stuff. There's numbers to back it up. So you sort of know it's in demand. And I think that's been really helpful for me. Through doing my podcast, I was able to go on Heart Breakfast with Amanda and Jamie, and of course, I think something worth mentioning is that because my podcast was produced by Global, they have a PR team. So the way you're pushed out when you are produced by a massive global powerhouse like that is very different compared to if you do something solely independent. So I think having that PR team behind me really helped push me out a lot, which I think can be hard to get. And I was really lucky. But still, I think podcasting, in the way that I've been able to do. I've been able to have conversations on my podcast that I think I didn't hear anywhere else. And I think that it also has been able to just show, I suppose, my range of interviewing skills. And also, if I hadn't done my podcast, then even me doing the interviewing Whoopi Goldberg last year, they would have nothing to reference for whether I was a good interviewer or not. But they heard my podcast and then go, oh yeah, actually, So
it's a show reel as well,
it's
right?
It's a show reel. It's it's your highlights. And I think that there's something about as well, I know vodcasts are on the rise, but I think there's something about not focusing on the aesthetics of somebody and just enjoying somebody's voice that I really enjoy. I really enjoy just getting to know someone through their voice. And I'm always very surprised if I see a podcaster on TV and then I'm like, oh, that's what they look like, because I don't care about that. I'm just interested in their voice and what they have to say. So,
it's a leveler as well, isn't it?
For sure. It's not because sometimes you might see someone on telly and think, oh, I'm not watching this because you don't like the look of them, but they might actually have something really interesting to say that might engage you. But you turn off because they perhaps don't look like somebody that you think you'd want to listen to. But with podcasting, it's not really about aesthetics. It's just about their voice and the information. And that's what you're there for. For me, podcasts about discovery. I listened to so many podcasts about Whoopi Goldberg before I did the interview, because podcasting is also a really good way of, I listened to a Desert Island Discs podcast to understand Whoopi Goldberg a bit more. So they're also a really good way to research on people as well. Before you interview them, you can get a good vibe of what they're like before you meet them. So in a way that you just wouldn't on telly, it's like impossible. So.
Well, Jackie, good luck with your panel this afternoon.
Thank you, I need it.
I'm looking forward to coming along to that and seeing that. And what about the rest of the festival? What about the next 2 days? Are you around for the whole show?
Justin, they've got me working 9 to 5. I mean, no complaints, of course. Yes, so tomorrow I am doing the Edinburgh Review show, so the Talent Schemes team.
That's the Thursday of the festival,
yes. So I'll be doing that, and then I've got a rehearsal for that today, and then obviously I have my panel as well. So yeah, and that's tomorrow. That's basically the whole day. So, but I'm really looking forward to the McTaggart as well. I love the McTaggart, and I love that everyone's just in the same room together. It's just such a unique experience, and I'm interested to hear from David Harewood as well. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's just so nice to be back, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Just everybody building those connections again.
Yeah.
You know, I've met 2 people here. They're clients of mine, but I've
Right.
never actually met them in person.
This is
right?
amazing.
So it's really nice to be able to connect with people. Finally.
100%. And I have to say, I'm really excited for the Sky Arts margaritas. I just thought I'd drop that in there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll see you there for a margarita later.
Oh yes. Clink clink.
Okay. Thanks, Jackie.
No worries.
Well, that's about it for this week's Edinburgh TV special. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week's show features Lee McMurray, commissioning editor of Factual Entertainment at Channel 4. Until then, as always, stay safe,